but they can't go to a petrol station and get their own money and just get fuel because they really think someone should be fueling their vehicles. That is the level of entitlement. But there are only two politicians today in Kenya who you can be able to say are known to have rewarded political laziness. And this is President William Ruto and Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga carried everybody. He did not care sometimes what level of importance you really had, but and sometimes these are the reasons why they fattened this entitlement and continued. Look at President William Ruto, for instance. President William Ruto does the heavy lifting and becomes president. JB Muturi becomes CS. If I were to ask you, what was the political importance and significance that JB had to make Ruto president? But because he is a bigger brother, remember, one of the reasons why President Ruto together with Raila Odinga would do this is because they were politically the bigger brothers of everybody. They were the most politically experienced and all that. So everyone else, no matter how experienced, they fell below them. And so they had a higher responsibility as elders to just be able to carry people along and say, okay, fine, we've been with you. Just get something and let's keep moving. And some of these fattened them so much. Look at President Uhuru Kenyatta. President Uhuru Kenyatta does the work, becomes president. JB Muturi becomes speaker. And then I ask you, what was the importance? What is this that JB had done to President Uhuru politically to actually warrant him to become speaker? But you see, he became fattened by this. And so as it stands now, he really believes that this country owes him something. So he is at a point where, and some of these politicians are at a point where now, those ones who are in the opposition, they believe first that they are senior to Rigathi. That is just what they don't say, but that's what they believe. Because Rigathi Gachagua is a one-term member of parliament, and someone calls him a quarter-term deputy president. So politically, when someone like JB Muturi looks at himself, when someone like Munya looks at himself, he feels like he is actually, she is senior to him. So whereas that might be true, but there's also political reality about the work that people are actually doing. And we can't run away from the reality that Rigathi has actually put in some work. And the disadvantage that they have had in that opposition is that Rigathi knows that he cannot roll a campaign on an agenda. He knows very well that he has no promise he can give Kenyans. And that's why he pulls this campaign towards ethnic incitement. He pulls this campaign towards tribal mobilization. Now, these other people are doing nothing to also pull the campaign their direction. And that's why today they will be judged on the basis of the low cadre that Rigathi has taken the campaign. So today they will also be asked ethnic questions. They will be asked tribal questions. If hard work in politics is not just about whipping tribes and whipping your people, you can whip an agenda. President Ruto today is moving up on an agenda. He is saying this is we are implementing the better plan. And this is the vision of the country. And this is what we want everyone to come together to do. We want the infrastructure fund and all those kind of things. Now, when you are JB Muturi, the question is, okay, you are whipping people on what? Jimmy Wanjigi becomes better than all of them. Because at least Jimmy Wanjigi is mobilizing people and saying, let us discuss debt.
Would you say the same for the gentlemen in ODM? Who are also gunning for a bigger seat.
The gentlemen,
what agenda are they talking about, apart from I deserve to be running it?
Of course, the gentlemen in ODM, one, they have a right to claim to deserve for one reason. Because they are the second biggest political party under that coalition. So they are not just blowing hot air, unlike JB and the rest. These are people who, when you look at the combination of UDA, ODM, Ford Kenya, and the parties in the broad-based, after UDA is actually ODM is the strongest political party. So they have a right to say, wait a minute, we also deserve this. But after they say that, they must also go out there and do the work. And in my view, their work is not commensurate to what they are actually demanding. I see them in Kakamega, I see them in several places. But sometimes I feel like they come together as members of ODM, then travel together and go to a different location and say the same thing they would have said at the party headquarters. I don't see the element of mobilizing the people and mobilizing the vote.
Do you see that affecting the young aspiring politician?
Very true.
Anyway.
Very, very true. And that's why we as the younger generation must think differently and must call out this hypocrisy for what it is. We as the younger generation must not sit anywhere and support the entitlements of people like JB Muturi, who actually think that the country owes them something. we as the younger people must be able to call them out and say, no, wait a minute. Why are you even a principal in the first place? Because some of these people, away from their political parties, you only know them and the political party. You can't even mention 2 officials of that political party. But they would want to claim that they would also want to stand on a podium and threaten President Ruto and say he will be a one-term. They have people, they have mobilized. Which people? Because some of these gentlemen cannot make themselves an MCA. They can't make themselves an MP. Yet they would want to stand on a podium and threaten a president and call him names. I think we, the younger generation, must be. But you see, the young people today are putting in a lot of effort. When I look at the young aspirants across the country, they are putting in a lot of effort. They are moving across the country. They are trying to mobilize at their level. They are trying to ensure that they are putting their little shilling to use, the one that they can find. So they are putting in the work, and some of them are actually more qualified to hold these positions than some of these entitled people that we have. And remember, Fred, we must also remember that some of these people who are very entitled are actually funded by taxpayers' money. So even when they call the press conference, it's again paid by the taxpayer. When they move around, the security is again the taxpayer. Every month, they will still receive a stipend from the taxpayer. And Kenyans are running away from this idea of, and I don't know why they are not seeing it. Kenyans are moving away from the idea of, you just deserve because you have experience. Kenyans are asking, what?
Because you've been there.
What is this that we are calling experience?
It is
Kenyans are asking.
The next election.
Yeah.
People who are aspiring to be presidents are yet to be seen on the campaign trail.
Yeah.
Apart from Sifuna, Gachagua, and President William Ruto. Should we be having any other politician gunning for president apart from the 3? Let's, as you make your final comments. We are
says Kalonzo is working from home.
They're working remotely from home.